And this she gathered from the people's eyes. This too the women who had tired her head to please her, dwelling on his boundless love, told Enid, and they saddened to the more. And day by day she thought to tell Geraint, but could not, out of bashful delicacy. While he that watched her sadden was the more suspicious that her nature had a taint. At last it chanced that on a summer morn, they sleeping each by either, the new sun beat through the blindless casement of the room, and heated the strong warrior in his dreams, who, moving, cast the coverless aside and bared the knotted column of his throat, the massive square of his heroic breast, and arms on which the standing muscles sloped, as slopes a wild brook o'er a little stone, running too vehemently to break upon it. And Enid woke, and sat beside the couch admiring him, and thought within herself, was ever man so grandly made as he? Then like a shadow passed the people's talk, and accusation of uxoriousness across her mind, and bowing over him low to her own heart, piteously she said, O noble breast and all-puissant arms, am I the cause, I the poor cause, that men reproach you, saying all your force is gone? I am the cause, because I dare not speak, and tell him what I think and what they say, and yet I hate that he should linger here. I cannot love my lord and not his name. Far liefer had I gird his harness on him, and ride with him to battle, and stand by, and watch his mightful hand striking great blows at caitiffs and at wrongers of the world. Far better were I laid in the dark earth, not hearing any more his noble voice, not to be folded more in these dear arms, and darkened from the high light in his eyes, than that my lord through me should suffer shame. Am I so bold, and could I so stand by, and see my dear lord wounded in the strife, and maybe pierced to death before my eyes, and yet not dare to tell him what I think and how men slur him, saying all his force is melted into mere effeminacy? O me, I fear that I am no true wife. Half inwardly, half audibly she spoke, and the strong passion in her made her weep. True tears upon his broad and naked breast, and these awoke him, and by great mischance he heard but fragments of her later words, and that she feared she was not a true wife. And then he thought, in spite of all my care, for all my pains, poor man, for all my pains, she is not faithful to me, and I see her weeping for some gay knight in Arthur's hall. Then, though he loved and reverenced her too much to dream she could be guilty of foul act, right through his manful breast darted the pang that makes a man in the sweet face of her whom he loves most, lonely and miserable. And this he hurled his huge limbs out of bed, and shook his drowsy squire awake, and cried, My charger and her palfrey. Then to her I will ride forth into the wilderness, for though it seems my spurs are yet to win, I have not fallen so low as some would wish, and thou put on thy worst and meanest dress, and ride with me. And Enid asked amazed, If Enid errs, let Enid learn her fault. But he, I charge thee, ask not, but obey. Then she bethought her of a faded silk, a faded mantle, and a faded veil, and moving toward a cedarn cabinet, wherein she kept them folded reverently, with springs of summer lay between the folds, she took them, and arrayed herself therein, remembering when he first came on her dressed in that dress, and how he loved her in it, and all her foolish fears about the dress, and all his journey to her, as himself had told her, and their coming to the court. For Arthur on the Whitsuntide before held court at old Caerleon upon Usk. There on a day he sitting high in hall, before him came a forester of Dean, wet from the woods with notice of a hart, taller than all his fellows, milky white, first seen that day. These things he told the king. Then the good king gave order to let blow his horns for hunting on the morrow morn. And when the king petitioned for his leave, to see the hunt, allowed it easily. So with the morning all the court were gone, but Guinevere lay late into the morn, lost in sweet dreams, and dreaming of her love for Lancelot, and forgetful of the hunt. But rose at last, a single maiden with her, took horse, and forded Usk, and gained the wood. There on a little knoll beside it stayed, waiting to hear the horns, waiting to hear the hounds, but heard instead a sudden sound of hoofs, for Prince Geraint, late also, wearing neither hunting dress nor weapon save a golden hilted brand, came quickly flashing through the shallow ford. Behind them, and so galloped up the knoll, a purple scarf, at either end whereof there swung an apple of the purest gold, swayed round about him as he galloped up to join them, glancing like a dragonfly in summer suit and silks of holiday. Low bowed the tributary prince, and she, sweet and statelily, and with all grace of womanhood and queenhood, answered him, "Late, late, Sir Prince," she said, "later than we." "Yea, noble queen," he answered, "and so late that I but come, like you, to see the hunt, not join it. Therefore wait with me," she said. "For on this little knoll, if anywhere, there is good chance that we shall hear the hounds. Here often they break covert at our feet." And while they listened for the distant hunt, and chiefly for the baying of Cabal, King Arthur's hound of deepest mouth, there rode full slowly by a knight, lady, and dwarf, whereon the dwarf lagged latest, and the knight had visor up, and showed a youthful face imperious, and of haughtiest lineaments. And Guinevere, not mindful of his face in the king's hall, desired his name, and sent her maiden to demand it of the dwarf, who, being vicious, old, and irritable, and doubling all his master's vice of pride, made answer sharply that she should know not. "Then I will ask it of himself," she said. "Nay, by my faith, thou shalt not," cried the dwarf. "Thou art not worthy even to speak of him." And when she put her horse towards the knight, struck at her with his whip, and she returned indignant to the queen. Whereat Geraint, exclaiming, "Surely I will learn the name," made sharply to the dwarf, and asked it of him, who answered as before. And when the prince had put his horse in motion toward the knight, struck at him with his whip, and cut his cheek. The prince's blood spurted upon the scarf, dyeing it, and his quick, instinctive hand caught at the hilt as to abolish him. But he, from his exceeding manfulness and pure nobility of temperament, wroth to be wroth at such a worm, refrained from even a word, and so returning said, "I will avenge this insult, noble queen. Done in your maiden's person to yourself, and I will track this vermin to their earths. And though I ride unarmed, I do not doubt to find at some place I shall come at arms on loan, or else for pledge. And being found, then I will fight him, and will break his pride, and on the third day will again be here, so that I be not fallen in fight. Farewell." "Farewell, fair prince," answered the stately queen. "Be prosperous in this journey, as in all, and may you light on all things that you love, and live to wed with her whom first you love. But ere you wed with any, bring your bride. And I, were she the daughter of a king, though she were a beggar from the hedge, will clothe her for her bridals like the sun." And Prince Geraint, now thinking that he heard the noble hart at bay, now the far horn, a little vexed at losing of the hunt, a little at the vile occasion, rode by ups and downs through many a glassy glade and valley, with fixed eye following the three. At last they issued from the world of wood, and climbed upon a fair and even ridge, and showed themselves against the sky, and sank. And thither came Geraint, and underneath beheld the long street of a little town in a long valley, on either side whereof, white from the mason's hand, a fortress rose, and on one side a castle in decay, beyond a bridge that spanned a dry ravine. And out of town and valley came a noise as of a broad brook o'er a shingly bed brawling, or like a clamour of the rooks at distance ere they settle for the night. And onward to the fortress rode the three, and entered, and were lost behind the walls. So thought Geraint, I have tracked him to his earth. and down the long street riding wearily found every hostel full, and everywhere was hammer laid to roof, and the hot hiss and bustling whistle of the youth who scoured his master's armour. And of such a one he asked, what means the tumult in the town? Who told him, scouring still, this sparrow-hawk. Then riding close behind an ancient churl, who, smitten by the dusty smoking beam, went sweating underneath a sack of corn, asked yet once more what meant the hubbub here. Who answered gruffly, the sparrow-hawk. Then riding further past, an armourer's who with back turned and bowed above his work, sat riveting a helmet on his knee. He put the self-same query, but the man, not turning round nor looking at him, said, Friend, he that labours for the sparrow-hawk has little time for idle questioners. Whereat Geraint flashed into sudden spleen, 1,000 pips eat up your sparrow-hawk, wrens and all winged nothings peck him dead. You think the rustic cackle of your burg, the murmur of the world, what is it to me, O wretched set of sparrows, one and all, who pipe of nothing but of sparrow-hawks?